Ladies and gentlemen,
Businesses have life cycles just like humans, and what they need at each stage will be different.
Yeah, it's a setup to make you get up and get into it. Allow me to influence your
the
financial affluence.
six-figure setup.
To make you get up and get into it. Allow me to influence your financial affluence.
The six-figure setup.
But nothing in this world that I like more than checks. Money. All I really wanna see is the
go get the money, go get the money.
The six-figure setup.
With multiple businesses between the two of them, Leonard and Yolanda Young are true champions for all things Black business ownership and Black wealth. Their purpose love story started as a friendship that blossomed into an undeniable romantic connection. That connection was the beginning of a budding real estate and business portfolio that has become a force to be reckoned with in geographic areas that lack diversity. This week's interview with the Youngs is one you cannot miss as they share how they keep the spark alive while raising a blended family and establishing generational wealth. Hey guys, welcome back to the Six Figure Setup podcast. I'm your host, Tiffany Gillespie, and I am so excited, as always, to be back with you all for another episode. This month is really, really special because it merges two of my favorite things, and that is love and business. Anyone who really knows me knows that I love love. I love to see people win in this area of their lives, and I also love to see people doing really, really well in business. So we have been talking about love and business all month long. If you all are just now tuning into the series, please make sure that you go back and that you check out our previous episodes and stay tuned for the episodes that we have coming up. So we are continuing our series on love and business. Before we get into our guests for today and I bring them in, I just want to remind everyone to make sure that you are listening to the ads and commercials from our sponsors. Make sure that you all are visiting the website so that you can register for the master classes that we have going on this month. With today's episode, we're really going to be focusing on entering into an uncommon space with the person that you love. I am so excited because I have a couple with me who I personally know. As you all know, some of the couples that we are interviewing this month, I know them personally, and then others I don't. I've just followed their story from afar, and they were so gracious as to allow me to interview them and to dig into the behind the scenes of how they do life, love, and business together. But this couple is a couple that I actually know. I had the privilege of being at their wedding. I've had the privilege of knowing them and journeying through life, to be invited to celebrate when they purchased their beautiful home and all of these amazing things. It's been years that I've had the privilege of knowing them. So at this point, you're probably wondering, well, who is it, Tiffany? I won't keep you all waiting any longer. So I'm going to bring my guest onto the screen, bring them into the room, and then I'm just going to tell you guys a little bit about them. So I am so honored to have the Youngs with me today. That is Leonard and Yolanda Young. I'm really, really excited. I know I've said it like 10 different times, but it's because I know them personally and I love their love story. Theirs is truly one of my favorite love stories to witness how they got together. They'll tell you their own story and just what God has done in their lives in a short amount of time. They've only been married for a little over 3 years now, right? So it's not been a ton of time, but amazing things have happened for them, and they've made great strides in building generational wealth in such a short period of time. So I'm going to start with telling you a little bit about Leonard, the husband of the couple. He's a graduate of Florida A&M University. He has a degree in mechanical engineering, and he is the founder and CEO of the National Black businessguide.com. This is a media company that focuses on news and information that affects the Black community, including racial injustices, current events, Black business, and stories of Black excellence. So it's all things blackity black, 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 black. All right. So they have amassed over 5 million viewers a month, and this platform is truly an online leader. They have been featured on, I believe it's Wilm.com, which is short for Wilmington in Delaware. They've also been featured on 6 ABC. So Leonard's company has done amazing things, and they really saw a lot of traction during the pandemic. Now, mind you, this platform and the work that Leonard was doing existed before the pandemic, but in 2020, at the height of the or at the start of it, because it wasn't even the height, we just didn't know it yet. But at the start of the pandemic and the stay-at-home orders and all of that, they really gained a lot of traction because people were finally openly talking about the work that Leonard has been doing behind the scenes for many, many years. So his resume is absolutely impressive, but I'm going to slide on over to the wife of the couple, who is Mrs. Yolanda Young. So Yolanda, I've known Yolanda the longest, right? We met, it's a long time ago. It's probably been like 8 years, maybe more. Been a really, really long time ago. And we met through Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated. I was referred to her as like someone that you should know in the city of Philadelphia if you want to be an entrepreneur. And I have seen Yolanda build multiple businesses. She is the epitome of a serial entrepreneur. She has owned multiple businesses in multiple different industries, and has really done it very well. Her background, she actually started out working for the CIA when she graduated from Hampton University. So she started out doing contract sourcing and selection and all of that with the federal government, and then pivoted. And again, I'm going to let her tell her story and like what led to the pivot and all of that. But that was the space that she worked in, and has really built an amazing platform called Business Babes. If you all know her or follow her on social media, you know that she is the business babe. That's who she is. So she's built this this organization that's been around for almost 10 years now. In addition to that, like I said, she's had multiple other businesses, particularly in the beauty industry. She's done consulting work, and is now in this space of real estate investing with her husband. And then they have multiple businesses together. I think between the two of them, I counted at least 5 businesses, and I'm confident that I'm missing some. So that is the Youngs. Welcome, 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 you guys.
All right, thank you,
Tiffany.
Thank you.
That was an amazing intro.
Yeah, I was about to say you definitely did your research on that one.
Took it way back, had to dig into the archives for that. So, and then to talk about the personal side, so that since that's what we're going to start with, again, they are married and have been for some years now, have beautiful children between the two of them, and have really just put a beautiful family and life together. So I'm excited. Let's dig in, and let's start with the beginning of you all's love story. So when did you meet? How did you meet? And how did you all know that you were meant to be together?
All right. So I'll start. So probably in 2018, I met her at an event. She did not remember meeting me, but I do remember meeting her. But then right around Memorial Day weekend, the Business Babes had a podcast where I think they were interviewing Darren Henson and Jackie Christie.
Great friend.
And I purposely went to the event with the, with the idea of meeting her. And when I got to the event, so I think we had spoken through Instagram, but it was 100% business. And when I went to the event, she was like, "Oh, Leonard, I'm glad you made it." And at that point, I didn't realize she even knew my name. And, at the end of the event, she was kind of giving out her number for business connections. And, I think it was later that week, I hit her up and I said, "Hey, do you want to meet to do lunch?" And at that point, she said, you know, I'm not available to do lunch, but, you know, you can come meet me at my salon. So, you know, I'm thinking this, you know, I'm trying to go on a lunch date. When I come to the salon, she's in the process of getting her hair done.
Braids.
Right. So,
braids, not even like, you know, a cute little wash and curl. Like I literally am getting braids so that I can get faux locks. And you know what we look like when we're in process.
Exactly. Like just rip the Band-Aid off from the beginning. Like,
and so, you know, a business hack, life hack too. I purposefully always try to remember people's names. And I always try to make people feel good when they're interacting with me. That Maya Angelou quote, you know, people won't remember certain things, but they'll always remember how you made them feel. And so sometimes it'll get you in trouble because you make them feel real good. But, you know, I purposely remember, you know, calling him by his name and just exuding that type of energy with any and everybody when it comes to, you know, the business babes, when it comes to anything that we do brand wise, because I always want people to have that memory of like, wow, you know. And so I didn't realize I was giving it off and it might have given a different vibe. And so when he hit me up and he's like, hey, come, and I'm like, okay, well, maybe he wants like consulting, because people ask me all the time. And so my priority for that day was absolutely getting my hair done, because it's Black girl magic over here. Yes. Yeah. And so he was just sitting there and he's talking to me and I'm talking to him and he's asking me about personal things. And I'm like, Yolanda, okay, but what about your business? Like
Yolanda told me her whole life story when we sat there.
I did.
Yeah, the whole life story. But Tiffany, this is what I have to say. If a man asks you out to lunch, out the blue, and doesn't mention anything about business, I mean, you know, that's all I have to say. So, you know, I was glad. I was still glad for the opportunity to meet her at salon, because if I was interested in her, I don't care if we meeting at the park, at lunch, at the salon, you know, it's like, okay, wherever we can meet. And she told me her whole life story there. So I felt like we were connected.
So after he left, he was like, oh, this is great. You know, maybe next time we can do this at a restaurant.
No, I didn't say that.
What did you say?
So when I was leaving, I said, you know, this was great. We should do this again. She said, absolutely. So I'm like, oh, I'm like, okay.
Whatever. Yes. But I didn't get the hint that it was like to get to know me personally. I thought it was all professionally. And, you know, I utterly embarrassed after I figured out like, oh, okay, he had, you know, different intentions and all of that. But yeah, that's how it got started.
I love it. I love it. And again, I've heard the story because I know the story.
you were there at the podcast. That's true. Yep.
This is true. I was actually there on that day where we did the interview with Darren and Jackie. So yes, I am reliving this story. So you all met. Yolanda's thinking it's friendship. Leonard is like, nope, I'm very clear about like my interest in you. So obviously, you know, leading into dating and all of that, and you all eventually get married in June of 2019.
Yes.
Yep. In June of 2019. So how did you all know that you had like found the one? Like, how did you know that this was your person?
I'm gonna let you answer that first.
So I can say from the jump, I didn't know. This is a second marriage for both of us. And so I was very much so on the fence about getting remarried and going through the whole cycle of, you know, just really being vulnerable again and letting my guard down. But I can say over time, he was consistent. And he really kind of showed me all of the things that, you know, I had always wanted. And so, you know, it took a little bit of just growth on my behalf in terms of not allowing, you know, things that have happened to me negatively in the past to really kind of infiltrate and, you know, take a hold of my future. And so, you know, I think a lot of times, especially for, you know, a lot of us women, when we're hurt, we, definitely kind of hunker down and we're like, you know what, I'll just be by myself because I can't do this.
Mhm.
Like if it happens again, it's on and popping for everyone.
Mhm.
But honestly, like God puts certain things on our hearts and our minds for a reason. And if you are patient, if you are trusting, they will happen. It's not gonna happen on your time. He's
Mhm.
he's very much a CP. A CP arriver. He's gonna come when he wants to come. But
Yeah.
for me, it was just the consistency of him being that person and doing exactly what he says he's going to do, and
Mhm.
being a man of his word.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so for me, I feel a little different. So when I first met her, I definitely liked her a lot. And as I got to know her, even even at the point where she was not, I'll say, all the way into me, we used to talk a lot, like
Mhm.
all night, many days, like every day. And kind of like I think we just talk about faith and just believing. you
Mhm.
know I just believed that she was for me. And like I remember there were like 2 or 3 times, like at the very beginning, where she's like, I can't do this, I'm too busy, I got too much going on, which was true because she was very busy.
Mhm.
And for some reason, I just had it in my mind. I was like, this is going to work out. Like, I don't know how. She says she's done. I don't know how, but I just feel like this is going to work out. And I feel like as time went by, I think we both let down a lot of barriers,
Mhm.
and we just kind of, really just connected with each other.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that. So how did you all make space for one another? And again, I think the interviews with like the people that are like actually my friends are kind of the hardest because I know the answers to these things, but I think these are important answers for people like out in the world to know, people who may not have the privilege of seeing the behind the scenes of, someone's story. So the Yolanda that I know, you're right, absolutely very, very busy person. And like I said, she is the definition of a serial entrepreneur, always had multiple successful irons in the fire. So Yolanda, for you, and then at the time, being a single mom and all of that, and building and growing and learning and just all the things that come with life, how did you make space for Leonard? Like, how did you make the room in your life for what you kind of maybe thought like, if it happens, it happens, like in the back of your mind, but now it's very present and in front of you. And I want to ask this question because I think that women who are CEOs, they oftentimes get like this negative, like connotation or like stereotype about the type of women that they are, personally and in romance and all of those things. And I want to debunk some of that really quickly before we move forward with you all's story. So how did you make room for love and particularly for Leonard?
Absolutely. You make time for the things that you want to make time for in your life. And a lot of times, when we're dating someone and they're too busy or when they don't make you a priority, you know what that feels like. There's so many of us that have not been a priority to people in their lives, that our feelings have not been prioritized. The things that are important to us in relationships have not been prioritized. And so for me, that's not the type of woman I want to be. That's not the type of mom I want to be. That's not the type of wife I want to be. And so just in getting to know him and communicating with him and understanding these are things that are important to him, I have to make those things that are now important to me. And so if that means that instead of working until 2 a.m., I take a break from 8 to 10 or 8 to midnight and, make room for the love that I want in my life, I do that. And if that means, I'm off the phone with him and then I'm finishing up briefing or sending invoices or whatever that kind of looks like afterwards, I'm doing that. If we're both entrepreneurs and we're working on things together, let's go to a cafe and do that. You can come over here, I can come over there. It's making those types of decisions to be cognizant of somebody else, the person that I love and that I want to be with, their needs, and prioritizing them along with mine. So just absolutely being that person that's actually going to make that space, not trying to figure out how, to juggle it, but literally sitting down, making room for him to be in my life.
Yeah, I love that. And Leonard, did you want to add anything? Because again, like before you all met, and we're going to talk about like the merging of life and business together, you all were both successful independently. You both had, you know, your own lives, just as Yolanda is a mom, you are a dad. So what recommendations would you give to men who are looking to make space for love in their life, especially as a CEO, you know, potentially as someone who's already a dad, a brother, friend, you know, all of these other roles and responsibilities?
Right. So, you know, I would probably say, and you know, I just speak for myself. So definitely being consistent. So, you know, one of the things I always think about is if there's something I want. And so, for instance, before Yolanda and I started dating, and I told her this, I couldn't find it. But, you know, I wrote down a list of what I wanted in a woman. And, you know, but, you know, one of the things I wrote, which is very funny, is, you know, Delaware is a very small place. So on my list, like I specifically wrote, you know, somebody who's living in Philadelphia, you know, somebody who's already a mother, you know, somebody who's an entrepreneur, you know, and, you know, kind of like Yolanda spoke about past experiences, you know, I know there's certain types of professions that I relate better with, and, you know, certain type of professions that may be the opposite. So I know that when Yolanda and I started dating, you know, I think I was excited to take it to the next level and level. And, you know, she was the opposite. You know, she was very, I won't say calculated in a bad way, but, you know, she was very intentional about the time she spent. And, you know, I remember towards the beginning, we went on a date and I was like, okay, like, when's the next time we can go on a date? And she's like, in 2 weeks. And I was like, in 2 weeks? I'm like, you know, like I'm thinking Friday, Saturday. But, you know, what I realized, and, you know, when people are busy and people are making time for you, you know, you have to be appreciative of that time. So what I did not want to do was, you know, bring out my inner child and whine why I had to wait 2 weeks. But, you know, and then, you know, after we started growing together, you know, I could tell that there was a difference where, you know, the wanting to spend time more frequently was, you know, what we both wanted. And, you know, even what she said about work, you know, there were some things where I had to meet her on her terms. You know, she was a workaholic, potentially. And, you know, she was a late night worker. You know, she would stay up to midnight and probably later. You know, I was probably in bed at, you know, 10 o'clock and maybe I get up early. But, you know, I knew that, and probably the both of us, that, you know, we had to make some adjustments. So there were a lot of times where, you know, we would meet up, you know, whether her house, my house, or somewhere else. And, you know, we would just work. Yeah. And, you know, I think from a man's point of view, and probably a female's as well, if you like somebody, you know, just being around them, no matter what you're doing, is something that is desirable. And that's how I felt at the time. Even though she might not have been head over heels, I appreciated the time she was giving me because I knew she was busy.
Yeah, I love that. I love that, appreciating the time. This is so good. And I'm literally like over here cheesing and blushing again because I love love. And I love you all's love story and just how it has all come together. So we are going to take a quick commercial break. When we come back, we're going to talk about how they decided to do business together. So not just merging their lives together romantically, but deciding to walk in purpose together, and some of the things that they have built, which has been amazing to see the quick trajectory of it. So don't go anywhere. We'll be right back after this commercial.
Roses are red, violets are blue. Don't forget to show your body some love too. February is the month of love, and So Our Fitness wants to help you give yourself the greatest gift, good health. All month long, they are rolling out new fitness programs, classes, and more to help you reach your health goals. To sweeten the deal, they are letting you bring someone along for the journey. That's right. Their 2-for-1 special allows you to work out with your lover, friend, or family member for the cost of one membership instead of two. This offer is valid until February 28th, so search for MJ Fitness Global on Instagram today to secure your sessions.
All right, guys, welcome back. Welcome back. I am live with the Youngs, with Leonard and Yolanda, and we spent the first segment of today's episode talking about love. I mean, it is Love Month after all, and you guys know I love love. I love to see people happy and prosperous and thriving in love. So now that we've gotten all of the kind of heart stuff out of the way and the stuff that'll make you blush, I really want to dig into the business side of who they are together as a couple. You all have heard me talk about this before on the podcast, that you have to be very intentional about who you choose to spend your life with. And as they mentioned, this is their second marriage for both of them. So I am certain that there was a lot more scrutiny in a positive way, a lot more evaluating of, okay, you heard Leonard talk about his list. I know Yolanda probably has some things in her head, like, okay, if these are the things, if I'm going to do this again, this is what I want. And both of them have really spoken to that, but it goes beyond love, right? You don't just get married just for love. I personally believe that it's not enough, right? That there has to be some sort of purpose, a vision, a mission behind marriage. So Yolanda or Leonard, whoever wants to take this question first, what would you all say has been the vision or the mission of your marriage, whether it's business or just pertaining to total life things?
Wow. So as he mentioned, we talk all the time, even to this day. When we were in the courting and dating phases, we definitely talked all the time, and we were very intentional. I think our first intentional act was a love contract?
Yep.
Where we kind of wrote out, and this is while we were dating, rules of engagement. Like, this is how you will date me. This is what I like. This is, how many times a week I like affection. Like, we went through all of those things. Yep. And wrote it all out in a contract, signed it. And I want to say we posted it somewhere too. But it was just, a nice reference for us to have if and when things did arise, or if and when someone needed to be reminded, like, hey, I only got 2 hugs this week. I need 4 hugs this week, or, whatever it was. So, that was the first thing. I can say we've also done a bucket list in terms of just investing in real estate investments. We said, hey, we want 5 properties. After 5 properties, we want mobile home parks. After 3 mobile home parks, we want, X, Y, and Z. And it kind of goes down the line of all of the things that we want. We had earnings goals. Hey, after we make $20,000 a month, this is the new goal. After we reach this, it's now, net worth of 20 million and all of those things. And so we have been very intentional about our goals as they relate to us personally and our family, also as it relates to our investing and our businesses and things like that. And we hold each other accountable to those things for sure.
Love that. Love that. All right. So how did you all, so I know you touched on the real estate piece in a second. I'll come back to that. I take notes on every episode, not just so I could go back and have clips for social media and marketing and all of that, but this idea, what I heard was communication, but the idea of a love contract, the bucket list, the earning goals, I really love that. But how did you all decide that you were going to do business together? Was this a decision? It sounds like it was a decision that y'all made before y'all even got married, that not only did you want to build a romantic relationship and like family and all of that, but you wanted to build generational wealth together. I know some couples who cannot work together, and that's okay, right?
It is.
Yeah.
So how did y'all decide, like, we're going to do business together? And what advice would you all give to any couples that are thinking about doing business together?
Yeah, so we actually did business together pretty early. I probably even say before we got engaged, we had actually done some businesses together. So at the time, I know I was doing websites, she was doing websites. We were both doing marketing. We started a website business. We started, an Instagram marketing businesses. So, I mean, there were a couple of things that just kind of seemed natural because we were both kind of in the same space. And even for the real estate, we actually started doing the real estate business before we got married as well, too.
Yeah. I think when you're an entrepreneur, it's very easy to do business with your spouse because honestly, not to say it takes over your life, but it's absolutely a lifestyle. And I can't see really and truly like being with someone as an entrepreneur that's not supportive, at least of those goals. And it's not for everybody. Everybody doesn't understand it. It does take a mindset shift. It does take a money mindset shift. It does take a time mindset shift. And you do have to set the appropriate parameters for your relationship. But with all those caveats, it was a natural inkling for us to work together because if he is talking to me about National Black Eyed and some things that he has going on, I'm definitely going to interject some things that have worked for me positively as an entrepreneur, but also as a corporate professional. At the same time, if he is really, really great at marketing, if I'm doing something, he is absolutely going to interject or make some introductions or honestly be on that team,
Right.
whatever team that is, in order to get those things done. And so for us, it was a no-brainer. Neither one of us, even though we're both assertive, we also know how to fall back when we need to. And so it's a give and take. And, sometimes it just takes a little bit of grooming in the relationship to figure out who needs to lead at what time, and who needs to fall back at what time and how that works.
So good. So good. So you mentioned parameters that there are some parameters that kind of govern how you all do business and life together. What are some of the rules that you all stick to? And I also love what you said about the love contract. So kind of merging those two together. What are some of the like non-negotiables that you all have to protect your love life and also to protect the business side of things, to be able to maybe separate those things when necessary and to make sure that you all are still giving one another what you need personally and professionally?
Yep. So one of the things that we decided to do was really have quality time. So this was something that we do schedule if our schedules are too busy. But what we realized is if we are talking business in the morning, talking business during the day, talking business at night, it's kind of like, okay, where are we as a couple outside the business? So we do have kind of like scheduled date nights and quality time. During the pandemic, when it was very stressful, our quality time happened to be in Mexico. We went many times, but really just recognizing that there's a time for business, and there's a time when we should kind of put business to the side. So I mean, I would say that's probably one of the biggest things that I appreciate.
Yeah, I think also just being cognizant as a partner. Sometimes your spouse or your significant other doesn't necessarily see certain things that they need. So, I know if it's been 4 months, like, okay, he might be ready to go on vacation. Let me just go ahead and schedule something and we can still work. But, let's party a little bit too. Or, I know, hey, if there's something big coming down the line, let me make sure that, the weeks leading up to that, certain things are taken care of. Just to help lighten the load on, on that person.
I love that. I love that. Gotta be in tune with what your partner needs. So with the real estate, let's dig in a little bit more. Again, another part of one of my favorite parts of you all's story is that you all have some traditional and non-traditional real estate. You mentioned that you had the bucket list that you wanted to own 5 of this, and then we were moving to the next thing, and 3 of this, and then the next thing. So y'all chipping away. Y'all are on the move when it comes to the bucket list things. And that's just two of the things on the list that you all mentioned. So can you talk about like why real estate? And then how do you choose, what to invest in? And, let's get into that a little bit.
Yeah.
Yep.
So first of all, I love real estate. Real estate is literally the most common way for a lot of people to accumulate wealth. And so it was always something that, we were cognizant of and thought about and kind of doing on our own when we even met each other. And so, of course, it's a no-brainer. Anytime you have a large asset class like that, your significant other really kind of has to be on board or at least supportive because it takes a lot of money. It takes a lot of manpower sometimes to really kind of get that engine going. And so for us, our initial goal was, hey, we want to create $1 million worth of real estate for each one of our children. And that was our goal, for the relationship.
Right.
Like, hey, as long as we hit that, we're good. And so we've hit that, right? And we've been married for 3 years.
Yay.
And now it's kind of like, okay, what's next?
Yeah.
And so as we're learning and listening to podcasts and doing different things, there are different types of real estate out there that are really amazing. So we learned about, hey, there is an affordable housing shortage. There are a lot of people that cannot afford to pay $3,500 a month for rent, so how do we help aid that, but also, add that to our portfolio? And we decided to invest in mobile home parks. And, the average mobile home park owner does not look like us.
Nothing like it.
Right. And we didn't have any experience whatsoever in that industry. Neither one of us have, stayed in one of those types of communities. And so we looked at a couple parks, flew down to Alabama, rode around one that, definitely was a fixer-upper, and, other people might have been very afraid of it, but we were just smiling like, yes, this is our baby. It has so much potential. And we bought our first park. The second one we bought this year.
Yep.
I don't even think we posted about it.
We didn't. In fact, Tiffany, we almost bought it by accident.
Yeah.
And the only reason I say by accident was, for the first mobile home park, we were searching, we were looking, we were doing our research, our due diligence.
Yep.
The second one literally kind of fell in our lap.
Yep.
And when I say fell in our lap, we saw it online. It was close to the other park in Alabama we had.
40 minutes.
The terms were great, and before we know it, we owned a second park. And one of the things I like about what we've done is, how they always say, like the first time you do it is the hardest. Getting that first mobile home park was a little scary.
Yeah.
And Yolanda was a little bit modest. When we went to take a look at it, it was run down, it was ugly, and it was full of vacant mobile homes. And, one thing I always remember, and this is like how I know we're connected. So we look at this little ugly park and we're done. And we're like, what do you think? And we're both kind of to each other like, I want it, we love it.
Yeah.
And, it's just one of those things where I'm like, okay, well, let's do this. So, we always talk about building a legacy, leaving a legacy for our kids. We realize real estate is the way to go. And, I think we've been very fortunate because every time I feel like we set a major milestone and achieve it, the next one seems a little bit easier. So
that's so good. That's such a blessing. I love that.
Really
I love that ease that it seems to be over your lives. And that's why I said, like, you all have really, and I know that you all have publicly acknowledged this. I'm sure there have been lots of private moments of like, we really just did that. Like, that thing is done and like checked off the list. But I love ease. I really do. I believe that the children of God, that is a part of being a child of God, is that ease is our portion.
Yes.
And it doesn't mean that we won't learn, that we won't grow, that we won't have challenges through the process. But I think it should get easier. Like, once you've done something, one time, couple of times, whatever. I mean, it's the same thing with building businesses in general. Each time we start a business, we open a business, there are certain things that are going to be easier because you've done it before. So how do you all choose what to invest in? So two questions kind of tied to one another. How do you all choose what to invest in the real estate? Is there like one thing, and again, you don't have to give away all your secret sauce, but is there some sort of, maybe internal checklist or something that you all use to determine what you're going to invest in? And if there are others who want to invest, particularly in mobile home parks, what would you recommend or advice that you would give to them?
So I'll speak about, our first park. Very scary. We, of course, wanted to do as much due diligence as we could. Because it's an older park, there were a lot of things and a lot of variables that we just didn't have. And we also didn't want to spend, $20,000 to research certain things, in the event we didn't go with that park. And so some of it is just looking at the valuation and saying, hey, is this a true evaluation? Is, in my mind and, the comps and all of those things, is this really valued at what they say it's valued at? And then two, looking at the appreciation or the forced appreciation. When we bought our park, it is a 45 unit park. At the time that we bought it, there were only 6 people paying. We've had it for less than 2 years, and now we have about 26 units paying us. So we knew right away that there were some things that we could do automatically just going in to be able to increase the value of the park, but also increase our cash flow. Aside from that, we both have an amazing network, and we both have followers and partners and supporters, honestly, that have watched our journey and said, hey, y'all are cash flowing better on some of those mobile homes than I am on my $300,000 house. Like, tag me in. How do I get in? And so we've been able to, also just source units for them. We sold a lot of the older units in our parks to other investors that put in, $10,000, $15,000. And, again, are cash flowing great. They're making, $850 to $1,200 a month off of these units. And it's just a lot cheaper than it would be investing in a single family home. It's so much less red tape, and it's a win-win for, both us and for them.
Right. And I was going to say that the other thing we noticed too was when we were considering the option of mobile home parks, I can personally say I wasn't a big fan. My wife was like, yes, let's do it. Because we're also looking at apartment buildings at the time. But the more we read about mobile home parks, we were reading about how they were increasing in value. And it was almost like the untapped market. Of course, when we went on Instagram, all the real estate gurus were talking about fix and flip, single family houses, and nobody was talking about mobile home parks. And even the area that we're in the north, and mobile home parks are not as large as something a lot of people are familiar with, but people down south, that's a way of life. And when we started looking at how some of the mobile home parks were appreciating, the demand for them, it's kind of like, okay, well, let's hurry up and get ours before this goes up. And we were lucky because the value of our park is probably a little more than doubled in the last 2 years since we've got it. So we're definitely pleased with the investment we made.
I love that. I love that. So are you all still, and I remember seeing you all opening up opportunities for investing in the mobile home parks with you all to, just get maybe one unit, one home. So do you all still offer those opportunities to people? And if so, how can they connect with you all to find out more information?
We absolutely do. One of the more popular ways people like to private lend. And so they're like, hey, I have some money that I would like to invest. I don't necessarily have the time because I'm trying to grow my business, or I'm busy with these kids, or I'm back in school. But I do want to get my feet wet. And so they'll private lend with us, which is essentially you investing some money, we giving you a return on your money at a specified time frame, and using that to help again do things that appreciate the park, and you getting a nice return on that definitely rivals what the stock market is doing now.
Yes.
But that's one of the easier things. We also have an influx of mobile homes. We made really, really good connections where our park is. And so there are a couple of movers that, will hit us up and say, hey, we have, a nice 3-bedroom, 2-bath. That probably means about $7,000 worth of work. Take a look at it. We take a look at it. We send it out to our list of investors and they say, yeah, I need that. I can put in $7,000 worth of work on that. And I can charge, $1,000, $1,200, and, have somebody in there and it's easy peasy.
Yeah.
And we have, contractors and things like that in the area that can help with that. So the website is...
The website is mhpinvestmentgroup.com.
Thank you.
Okay. Awesome. So we'll definitely be sure to link that with the show notes and then also on the visuals on YouTube. So you all have shared so much about the real estate portion. When we come back from our last and final break, I'm going to have the Youngs share their 6-figure secret for generating 6-figure revenue in business. As you all have heard them mention, they wanted to have at least $1 million worth of real estate investment per each of their children. They've already hit that. They had to come up with brand new goals because they've been knocking down these goals and chipping away at this bucket list so quickly that they're really having to challenge and to stretch themselves. So I know that their 6-figure secret is going to be good and it's going to be one that works. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back after this break. Have you heard? Annual enrollment for T3 Diversity Solutions membership-based program is now open. As their longest running group program, clients who join the council have consistently defied odds while growing personally and professionally. Enrollment in their 9-month program grants you access to some amazing features, including their relief fund, business retreats, and investment opportunities. Beginning March 5th, 2023, this 9-month program will focus on business education, along with actionable strategies you will be able to put to use immediately. Open enrollment closes soon, so visit T3DiversitySolutions.com today to join. That's T3DiversitySolutions.com today. All right, guys, welcome back to our final segment. I am live with the Youngs, Leonard and Yolanda. We have talked about all things love. We've talked about real estate. They've shared just a few of their secrets, and I know that they are gearing up to share more. They're going to be on YouTube. They share things on Instagram and other social media platforms. They've mentioned how you all can find out more information about their investing group and all of those things. So if you want to know more about real estate investing and specifically about investing in mobile home parks, they are definitely who you need to be connected to. So As we always do at the end of every episode, it is time for my guests to spill their six-figure secret. We could probably call it a seven-figure secret, but I'm going to have them share at least one thing. I don't know, they might give y'all more than one, but can you tell the listeners what is one secret or one thing that you all have consistently done to generate six figures in revenue? Because again, you all had successful businesses before you got together, and you've been able to build many more successful businesses. So what is that secret to six-figure revenue generation consistently?
I'll let you go. You got it.
Okay, so I'll answer this in two parts. If you are a working professional and let's say, hey, I'm tired of my 9 to 5, right? Or I'm ready to kind of do things on my own. Take those skills that you are amazing at and start your own consulting firm, right? I have a friend that I just helped. She says, Yolanda, I've tried. I don't know how to offer back my services in a way that's going to make me more money. And I said, here's one of the things that I would do if I were you, right? Go on Indeed, go on any job marketplace that post jobs for positions or, for skills that you would be hired for, and pitch yourself, your company, with your website, your resume, your work experience to those hiring managers, to those HR departments, and pitch it as a benefit. For a lot of people, they think the real benefit is offering benefits, right? But if you're an entrepreneur, the real benefit is getting that contract. And so if you can do that at a rate that's less than, that complete billable rate, with all of the overhead, all of the other charges, if you can now negotiate that into an hourly rate for yourself, and you can pay those things from that hourly rate, that's you in business for yourself, also being able to just control how much money you're able to make. So that's just an easy peasy way for a lot of working professionals to enter into entrepreneurship just very, very easily. If you're an entrepreneur, the answer is, it really kind of depends. And it's the grind. It's reverse engineering that number that you want to make and hitting those targets every single day. Nothing outworks work but work, honestly. And, I'll say that for everything that we've done, I take that end goal and we reverse engineer it. And it's like, look, we need X amount of people to give us X amount of dollars to hit this. Or, we need these properties to hit this much money in order to qualify for this next thing. So really just being able to reverse engineer what you want. And sometimes it doesn't seem like it's attainable, but I'm somebody that tells you, like, what doesn't seem attainable, honestly, to you is small potatoes to God, because again, there have been so many different goals that we set for ourselves that we hit. It's super easy, just insanely easy.
Yep. And to piggyback off what Yolanda was saying about the reverse engineering, I definitely believe in that. And just a quick story, and this is Instagram specific. So I remember at the very beginning of 2018 on my National Blackout account, I had 6,000 followers, and I was talking to the consulting queen, and one of the things we were talking about was kind of like the reverse engineering fact, where okay, if you're doing 3 posts a day and you're making $50 via Instagram, if you do 9 posts a day, that's 150 and so on. And what I did, and this is where the consistency comes in, for 1 year, probably every single day without fail, I posted 9 times a day. I posted 7:30 a.m., 9:30, 11:30, 1:30, 3:30, 5:30, 7:30, 9:30, 11:30 at night. From the beginning of that year, from 6,000, at the end of the year, I had 100,000 followers, and I was doing over like $7,000 to $10,000 a month in ads on Instagram. So reverse engineering and just being consistent. Like Yolanda said, being an entrepreneur is a hustle, but kind of like you said, nothing beats hustle but hustle.
And today, how many followers do you have?
Yep. And so today we have 312,000 followers. We work with a lot of influencers, a lot of brands, a lot of celebrities. So, and I all attribute it to being consistent in 2018.
Absolutely.
That's so good, for being consistent in those early years. And that's one of the things why I really thought it was important to mention that, specifically when I was talking about you, Leonard. And I know that both of you, again, have businesses that have really been around and been doing the work for many, many years. But with your business is that, like, post-pandemic, it can seem like, oh, everybody's talking about like building up the Black community and like Black business and all of that. But you all were doing that work before it became like the thing to do, before it became the thing for large corporations to invest in, before people started using terms like DEI and all of those things. You all were building a community. And I love what you said. When you said, though, that 9 times a day, what? Oh my goodness. I can barely post one time in 9 days, let alone 9 times in one day. So would you all recommend, is that a strategy that you would still recommend today? Because a lot has changed.
I mean, it definitely has. And, I was thinking, so what worked in 2018 would not work now.
Yeah.
But, still being consistent and really recognizing what people want. One of the things that I heard at the time when I tried to pay attention to, somebody was like, on Instagram, take a look at your last 12 posts and see which post did the best, and then do more of those posts. So, it's really kind of seeing what people want. Now, one thing I learned during that year of consistency was what people like to see more of and what people like to see less of. So, that kind of allowed me to tailor it to what people wanted to see more of.
Yeah. And I mean, it's industry specific too, because he's in media. And so pages like that, you go to that page to see what they posted that day, and just being able to create that type of content and or repurpose it, and get those eyes on there. There are a couple other things he does too, in terms of the marketing and all of that, but
I love that. I love that. All right. So 6-figure secret to recap, use the skills. If you still have a 9-to-5, use the skills that you have to consult. And Yolanda, you gave away a real secret with that Indeed thing. That is a secret that I have personally used. And I'll be honest with you, I maybe have shared it with like 1 or 2 other people in the world. Because that's a real secret. It really is. So thank you for sharing it, because that's what we're here for, right? The episodes of this podcast, I really want people to be able to walk away with things that actually work. So I used that strategy specifically in 2019. And I always talk about how 2019 was really a life-changing year for me and my business. Like, there was a moment in like September, October 2019 where I remember just like breaking down like a baby, like crying before God. Like, one time I was in my pastor's office, I'm like, my whole life has changed. Like, it was a total life change because I had done exactly what you said. And the crazy part is no one taught me that strategy. I literally, and I've shared this story, personally and, publicly, but in January of 2019, I purchased my first property. It's a duplex. So I purchased my first property. By like June of 2019, I could not make my mortgage payment. Now, mind you, I had been a business owner for years. I had been self-employed for years. It really actually felt like a cruel joke that was being played on me, because I'm like, I think I might be about to lose this daggone house because I can barely afford to like cover this mortgage. And literally what happened, I was like praying one day and I felt like God was leading me to look for a job. And I was like, oh, that's even more of a joke, because I'm coming up on Right. I'm coming up on 5 years of self-employment and you're telling me to look for, like, you gotta be joking. So I did. And I went to 2 interviews. The first interview that I went to, it was supposed to be like a 30-minute interview. I ended up being there for 2 hours, met with 3 different leaders, and walked away with a contract for my business. And I worked with them for maybe like 6 to 8 weeks, completely overhauling the marketing department of a multi-million-dollar organization. So like following this thing that seemed so crazy, it actually got me the largest client still today, the largest client that my company has ever served. They have hundreds of employees, like 12 different locations, and well into the millions in terms of annual revenue, and doing just what you said, like something that seemed completely crazy. And then there was another opportunity that I had done the same thing, and that literally like bust open the door to government contracting. I went into this organization thinking, oh, I'm just gonna like do what I do, you know, in my day-to-day life. I'm going to help businesses to start, grow, and scale. And it ended up kind of flipping on its head, where I was like the business that was being helped to grow through contracting opportunities. And it all came from applying for a job. So that's a real secret. I just wanted to share my own story with that. So if you are in a 9-to-5, or even if you're in business and you're maybe struggling like me, like I said, I remember the woman calling from the mortgage company, and she's like, you know, we can move the payments to the back end. She's giving me all my options. And I literally told her, I was like, call me back in 2 weeks. If I don't have this thing figured out in 2 weeks, I will take the best of the options that you are giving me. Like, I'm going to humble myself, and I'm going, you know, eat this so that I don't lose, you know, my house and my property and stuff like that. And when she called back 2 weeks later, I didn't need her because the plan had been figured out. So
that's amazing.
Yeah. So if you guys are listening to this episode, definitely use that secret, especially if you have a 9-to-5. But even if you don't, that's a secret that you can use. Make sure you guys are doing the reverse engineering. And Leonard, what I took away from what you said is that consistency always wins. Consistency is relative, but that it always wins. It's always the thing that will help you be successful. So we are going to wrap up for today. I want you all to make sure that you check out the new YouTube channel that they have launched, Young in Real Estate. I love the play on words. I love the play on words. What are you guys going to be talking about on that podcast? Of course, most people are probably like, duh, Tiffany, real estate. But what are you guys going to be sharing with people who may want to tune in?
Wow, we're walking through some of our properties with our contractors. They'll be giving estimates. We'll be asking questions so you can ascertain the right questions you should be asking when you're walking through your potential rentals and your properties and things, investments with a contractor. We share, you know, a ton of our stories.
Yep.
There may or may not be a chipmunk in a couple episodes. There may or may not be some dogs, lots of tenant tales, and just crazy things that we've experienced as landlords, everything from Airbnbs to rodent infestations to what to do when you're scared of everything. Like it's amazing. So all of the questions that we get asked on a daily basis, and all the things I wish I would have known, and you know, we've kind of found out together, will be on the channel.
I love that. I love that. So again, for all of y'all that was like, duh, real estate is deeper than that. And I was hoping that you were going to mention the rodent thing, because my good sis here is not a fan of the rodents and the bugs. And we'll try not to go into a property, and Leonard's always like, nope, you're coming in.
Yeah.
Tiff, we definitely have a lot of good rodent tales to show y'all, a lot of bloopers as well. So.
Yeah.
I love that. I love that. So how can people stay connected with you all?
Yep. So of course we have the YouTube channel, Young in Real Estate. For me personally, you can follow my personal Instagram, Leonard J. Young, and you can also follow the business Instagram, National Black Guide.
For me personally, it's Business Babes, and the business page is The Business Babes.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, thank you all so very much for doing this episode. My cheeks literally hurt from smiling because I'm so happy. I'm so happy. This was so good. I am rooting for you guys as always. Thank you for allowing me to journey with you all personally and professionally. Yolanda, with you for so many years. Anybody who really, really knows us knows that we go way back. And she is someone who has truly been a big sister, an inspiration, a partner, a corrector, and encourager, so many things. And Leonard, thank you so much for just being such a steadfast presence, not just in, my life, allowing me to, journey with you all as a couple and with your family, but also in the life of my friend.
It's hard out here for a pimp, girl.
Listen, okay? You made it, sis. So thank you so much for loving on my friend and just, being the man that you are, because your steady presence, I know for a fact, has made a huge difference in her life and in business and all of those things. So I love you guys to life. I'm going to let you all go and wrap up today's episode. Thank you all so much for joining me.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us, Tiffany.
Absolutely. All right, guys. So that is the end of our episode. Like I said, my cheeks are hurting from smiling because I'm so happy. One of the biggest things that I want you all to take away from today's episode is that when it is a purposed love, and that is a play on one of the brands that the Youngs actually created. You all can follow them on social media. You'll be able to see more about that. But when it is a purpose love, you really step into uncommon favor. And like they both said, they spoke about ease. You guys know, I just believe as a child of God that there's just a portion of ease that belongs to us. And again, it doesn't mean that you won't have to grow through some things, but their story, both personally and professionally, is really a testament of that. And the uncommon favor that is on their life, the faith, the boldness, the courage to step into something that no one is in that really looks like them. When they first kind of got into the space of investing in mobile home parks, it takes a lot of courage, but they have figured out how to merge faith and boldness and business together, and they all have a space together. So please make sure that you all follow them, that you support them. If you're looking for investment opportunities, check them out. Make sure you do your research, ask all the questions and all of those things. I'm not making any guarantees of things. I'm sure that their lawyers have told them not to make any guarantees of things, but if that's an opportunity that you're looking for, I believe from a personal perspective that these are two people that you should absolutely be connected to. So I love you guys to life. That is the end of today's episode. I'll see you all next week for another episode in our Love and Business series.
Did you enjoy today's episode? Well, now is your chance to like, subscribe, and share. Let us know how much you love the Six Figure Setup podcast by leaving a rating and review on your favorite podcast platform. Subscribe to our YouTube channel to see all the visuals for this and other episodes. Share this episode to social media and tag us using the social links in the show notes. Thanks for listening every week.